The 911 dispatcher's voice crackled over my patrol car radio. Calm but urgent. All units. Report a male subject barricaded inside his home, evading mandatory HOA compliance. Caller states the subject may be armed and hostile. Address is 47 Lakeshore Drive, Meadow Pine Estates. I nearly choked on my coffee. That was my address. The so-called fugitive was none other than me, Police Chief James Reeves. 3 squad cars were already winding their way up toward the neighborhood, lights flashing silently in the morning mist. I set my travel mug aside, straightened my badge, and stepped out of my unmarked vehicle just as the first patrol unit pulled into my driveway. Deputy Walsh climbed out of the lead car, his hand instinctively brushing his holster before recognition hit. Chief Reeves? His voice carried equal parts confusion and embarrassment. I gave him a thin smile. Morning, Walsh. Let me guess. The caller's name wouldn't happen to be Patricia Hartwell. His shoulders slumped. Reaching for his radio, he reported, Dispatch, Unit 12. Subject at 47 Lakeshore is Chief Reeves. False alarm. Repeat, false alarm. Through the static, the dispatcher's weary sigh was almost audible. Copy, Unit 12. 3rd false call from that address this month. I'm James Reeves. At 44, with 2 decades in law enforcement, I thought I'd seen just about everything. I'd left the city, where I'd worked as a detective lieutenant, to take the quieter job of police chief in Meadow Pine Valley, a lakeside town of 8,000 people, on a busy summer weekend. The position came with a raise, fewer late-night emergencies, and more time to indulge my passion for restoring vintage motorcycles. What it wasn't supposed to come with was Patricia Hartwell. She was a 62-year-old self-appointed queen of Meadow Pine Estates, running the Homeowners Association with the zeal of a tyrant and the persistence of a mosquito. A retired middle school vice principal, she wore her title of HOA president like a crown, complete with a laminated badge she'd had printed at a local shop. Her arsenal? A measuring tape for lawn height, a color wheel for approved house paints, and a smartphone loaded with every city official's number on speed dial. Our first meeting set the tone. I'd barely started unloading boxes on move-in day when she appeared at my elbow, clipboard in hand. Welcome to Meadow Pine Estates, she said with a smile that never reached her eyes. I'm Patricia Hartwell, HOA president. I'll need your moving truck permit, approved exterior color scheme, and landscaping plan within 72 hours. When I explained that I had no modifications planned and the moving truck would be gone within the hour, her smile grew tighter. Everyone has modifications eventually. It's best to be prepared. Also, your mailbox is half an inch below regulation height. You'll want to correct that immediately. The real trouble began 3 months later, when I missed one of the HOA's quarterly meetings. Not on purpose. I've been ready to sit through endless debates about mulch colors and the neighborhood's ongoing war against dandelions. But duty called. 30 minutes before the meeting, I was dispatched to a hit-and-run on Highway 12. Margaret Chun, a 78-year-old resident, had been sideswiped while walking her poodle. The dog survived. Margaret walked away with a broken wrist. The driver fled, and I had a crime to solve. In my book, that outweighed discussions on whether homeowners should be limited to 2 bird feeders each. Patricia, unsurprisingly, disagreed. The next morning, I found a passive-aggressive flyer tucked under my windshield wiper. Attendance builds community. It declared in cheerful Comic Sans. Your neighbors notice your absence at last night's crucial meeting. Important matters were discussed, including an amendment to Section 4.3, be regarding decorative garden gnome height restrictions. Your input was missed. At the bottom was a printed, full-color frowny face emoji. I ignored the flyer. That was mistake number 1. 2 days later, a certified letter landed in my mailbox, written in Patricia's trademark blend of bureaucratic jargon and thinly veiled threats. It warned that my pattern of non-participation in HOA community building exercises could trigger what she called an emergency residency review. 3 pages long, stuffed with citations from 17 different bylaws. It contained more whereas than a congressional bill. I skimmed it over breakfast, laughed out loud, and tossed it into the recycling bin. Mistake number 2. Patricia escalated her campaign with the determination of a general planning an invasion. First came the so-called wellness checks, though she preferred the term community care visits. The inaugural one took place at 6:15 a.m. on a Saturday. I opened my door in pajamas to find Patricia standing there with a paint color fan deck. "Just checking on the deck stain coloration," she chirped, craning her neck to peer past me into the house. Several neighbors are concerned it might be drifting toward unauthorized auburn instead of approved mahogany. "I don't even have a deck," I replied. She jotted something onto her clipboard, planning to add one. "You'll need 3 forms and approval from the architectural committee." 2 weeks later, the surveillance began. Patricia installed what she called a bird-watching camera, conveniently aimed straight at my driveway. Allegedly, it was for monitoring purple finch migration. In reality, it monitored my comings and goings with unsettling precision. Then came the smear campaign. Patricia uploaded a blurry photo of me to the neighborhood social media app, captioned, "Unknown male, possible drifter seen entering residence at odd hours. Stay vigilant." The photo? Me, in uniform, badge gleaming, collecting my mail. Most neighbors ignored it, but her loyal trio of retiree sidekicks ate it up. One wrote, "I've seen him too. He drives very slowly past the playground." To which I muttered, "Yes, Karen, that's called obeying the 15 miles per hour speed limit in a school zone." Another chimed in that I received a suspicious number of packages. Guilty as charged. Those packages contained car parts for the '67 Mustang restoration project in my garage. Apparently, having hobbies was ground for suspicion in Patricia's world. But none of that compared to what I now call the meeting incident, officially recorded in our files as misuse of emergency services, case number 2024-179. It happened on a Thursday evening, the night of another quarterly HOA meeting. I'd set a reminder on my phone, determined to show up and bury Patricia's nonsense under the crushing weight of compliance. But 30 minutes before the meeting, dispatch called. An elderly man, Walter Briggs, had managed to wedge his kayak into reeds near the old fishing pier, and a territorial raccoon had claimed it as prime real estate. Walter, terrified, refused to move. Animal control was 45 minutes out. When you're the police chief, you answer those calls, even if they involve brokering peace between a retiree and a hissing trash panda. It took an hour, a long pole, and a can of tuna, but we resolved it. Walter went home safe, the raccoon relocated, and I drove off feeling satisfied, until I passed Patricia's house glowing like a Christmas tree, her driveway jammed with HOA board cars. I braced for a flyer or another certified letter. What I didn't expect was that Patricia would dial 911. Later, reviewing the dispatch recording, I nearly dropped my pen. Patricia had told the operator a resident was barricaded inside his home, refusing to comply with mandatory community engagement protocols. She claimed she could hear violent shouting and erratic hammering. She suggested I might be mentally unstable. For the record, the yelling was me singing along to Creedence Clearwater Revival while making dinner. The hammering was me installing a spice rack. The responding deputies were 3 officers I'd personally sworn in 2 weeks earlier. Deputy Walsh admitted he'd never forget the look on his own face when he realized whose house they were raiding. Deputy Martinez said she grew suspicious when the caller insisted they approach with extreme caution because the subject might be crafting unauthorized property modifications. Deputy Johnson just shook his head and muttered that no amount of overtime could make this worth it. I walked outside calmly, badge clipped to my belt, hands visible, every move designed to appear non-threatening. For Patricia's benefit, not my deputies. Across the street, she sat in a lawn chair with binoculars, stargazing beneath a thick layer of clouds. Over the radio, the deputies reported, "Dispatch, Unit 12. We've made contact with the subject. It's Chief Reeves. The scene is secure. No crime committed. False emergency call." Patricia sprang up, clutching her chest with the theatrics of a community theater understudy. "Oh my goodness, Chief Reeves. I had no idea it was you. You weren't wearing your badge when I saw you through your kitchen window, and I was simply so concerned." Her voice trembled with feigned innocence. but her binoculars were still around her neck. "When you didn't attend a mandatory meeting, I feared something terrible had happened," Patricia declared, hand or chest in performance worthy of bad dinner theater. Deputy Walsh, to his credit, kept a straight face. "Ma'am, did you identify yourself as an HOA official when you called 911? Patricia lifted her chin. "I am the duly elected president of the Meadow Pine Estates Homeowners Association. I have a duty to ensure the safety and compliance of all residents." That was it. I'd had enough. That night, I filed a formal complaint for abuse of emergency services. By morning, I'd also reached out to the town council, urging them to investigate HOA overreach. Mayor Davidson, who still bore scars from Patricia's infamous flagpole incident, was all too eager to support a full audit. The investigation peeled back years of petty tyranny. Patricia had placed 7 false 911 calls in the past 2 years. Highlights included reporting an inflatable flamingo as a visual hazard that could allegedly trigger seizures, mistaking a Korean family's birthday song for suspicious foreign chanting, and my personal favorite, labeling a group of 10-year-olds trading Pokemon cards as a gang meeting. The town attorney's review of the HOA bylaws uncovered even more. Fines for rules that didn't exist, meetings held without notice, and HOA funds funneled into Patricia's vendettas. She'd spent $300 of association money on her bird-watching camera. That excuse collapsed quickly when an ornithologist confirmed purple finches didn't even migrate through our area. The showdown came at the next HOA meeting. This time, I arrived in full uniform, accompanied by the town attorney and a stenographer. The community center was packed. Word of the false 911 call had spread, and even residents who hadn't attended in years showed up, hungry for the spectacle. Patricia sat at the head table, gavel, actually a wooden spoon spray-painted gold, in hand, clinging to authority while the crowd glared daggers. She banged it on the table. "This meeting will come to order." I stood. "As the investigating officer for case 2024-179, I need to address the board regarding misuse of emergency services." "You're out of order," Patricia snapped, banging her spoon harder. "This isn't on the agenda." The town attorney rose beside me. "Actually, Patricia, public safety matters override agenda items. Section 12.4 of your own bylaws." I laid out the findings. The 7 false calls, the misuse of funds, the fabricated rules, the harassment. Each revelation stirred louder murmurs. Patricia's face cycled from crimson to purple to the color of her khaki shorts. Then I dropped the bombshell. Based on these findings and in consultation with the town council, I propose a vote to dissolve the Meadow Pine Estates HOA due to repeated violations of law and abuse of authority. The room erupted. Applause spread like wildfire. Patricia slammed her spoon so hard it cracked. "You can't do this. I've dedicated 5 years to maintaining standards in this community." Residents fired back. "Patricia, you measure my grass at 5:45 in the morning. You try to find me because my garden hose was coiled counterclockwise. You called the cops on my grandson's lemonade stand." Her microphone conveniently cut out then, whether by technical malfunction or the smirking sound tech's hand. No one could say. The vote was called. Of the 123 residents present, 118 voted to dissolve the HOA. Only Patricia and her 4 loyal board members dissented. Patricia leapt to her feet, spilling water. "This is a coup. This is illegal. I'll sue every one of you." The town attorney calmly explained that dissolution was perfectly legal with a supermajority vote under state property law. Soon after, Patricia was formally charged with misuse of emergency services, a misdemeanor carrying a fine of up to $5,000 and possible jail time. At her court appearance 2 months later, she tried to argue she'd been performing her civic duty. Judge Wheeler, already unimpressed, didn't budge. "Mrs. Hartwell," he said, "calling 911 because someone missed your meeting is not civic duty. It's criminal stupidity." He sentenced her to 100 hours of community service and a $3,000 fine. Patricia gasped. "$3,000? But that's my entire cruise fund." The judge leaned forward. "Then I suggest you find a new hobby, one that doesn't involve wasting taxpayer resources."